All right. I want you to understand something before this video begins. Under no circumstances am I laughing at the circumstances of this particular gentleman and what he's going through with his relationship with his wife, right? Being married to a Filipina myself, it's a challenge, and it goes both ways. Y'all know marriage in general goes both ways. It's always going to be a challenge. It ain't going to always be perfect, right? But when a friend of mine shared this video with me, it's titled "A Message to My Wife," and he puts the wife's name, and I think the YouTuber's name is Damian Drazik, but his actual YouTube name, how to find him, is extremely difficult. I don't know exactly what language it's in. I want to say Russian, but that's, a little off on some shit. So I'll link it in the description area below so that you guys can watch the close to 30-minute video on your own. But my man was basically in the video talking about all the things that he did wrong. He seemed to be a very godly, spiritual type, him and his wife. Apparently, the way he described his wife, she also seemed to be very spiritual. They prayed a lot and, they believed in God and stuff like that. And, during the process of going through the video, once you guys watch it, I encourage you to do so. He was talking about everything that he did wrong, testosterone, TRT, or what was it? Hormone replacement therapy he did. Apparently that made him infertile, maybe not able to have kids or something, so that played a major part into the downfall of their relationship and stuff like that. And all he was talking about was where he went wrong, and he was crying in the video and all of this stuff. And it really got to me because Doc is one to ask questions, okay? I'm gonna tell you first and foremost, if me and my wife go through anything like that, if I come on here and talk about it, I'll talk about it if I feel like it. But real talk, I'm not going to probably talk about it. Because what is personal is meant to be personal, right? That's some shit you keep behind closed doors. And it baffles me that people will put videos out there. Again, I'm not really questioning the situation, whether it's true or false, but more or less, it makes me think, why would you even put this shit out there for people to know that you're going through some shit with your wife if it's really none of their business? The only reason I can ever determine is sometimes it's for profit, y'all. Anything to make a buck. Let me show you I'm going through an issue with my wife. Y'all watch it. Hopefully you sympathize. Hopefully you watch. Hopefully you support. Because it seems as though you're not making the video, in my opinion, to reach out and talk to your wife about the situation. Because trust me, somebody knows somebody knows somebody who knows somebody who knows your wife. And trust me when I tell you, everybody in the family is not just going to alienate you from your wife. Somebody got her number. If you can't talk to her directly, somebody knows how to get in contact with her. Somebody knows where she's staying at. Somebody gonna snitch. Trust me, Filipinos will tell you, unless it was abusive or something like that, chances are you're gonna be able to find a way to contact your wife. Somebody will help you, especially if they believe that you are genuinely a good dude. So unless you have completely shown people that you are not a great person, and there's no way in this world that they're going to give out her contact information for you to be able to contact her, chances are any video that guys put out where they're crying to try to get their young ladies back, in most situations, not saying this is the case here, but, my spider senses are tingling. It's begging for attention, get me some views, but also show my wife that I genuinely do care about something. Maybe I do, maybe I don't. Because what I've learned is, and I'm not saying this is the case, but Doc has really been one of those types of people that sit back in the background and just pay attention to a lot of shit. You see? And what I've learned is if your YouTube channel is centered around more or less your wife or your significant other, or your thumbnails are around your wife, probably in scantily clad bathing suit types of clothing or whatever, and this is what gets people to click on the videos. She's pretty much the focal point in the video. You're just pretty much the voice in the background. You may show yourself every now and again, or it's you and her together, whatever. And that person is no longer available to be recorded, and you realize that on the back end, that could hurt the pockets a little bit, Oh, I'd be crying too, big dog. I'd be in the background, but I put out a video boohooing too, telling her to come back because we need to get this monies. Because that's what it feels like to me. I could be so fucking wrong, but for me, it just feels, although genuine, disingenuous at the exact same time. Because if you know what you did wrong, I would rather you just talk to your wife about it. You don't have to put it out there for the world to see. You know your faults. You know where you went wrong. You know, this whole begging for your wife to come back shit just seems a bit unnecessary. You know what I mean? It just seems fucking unnecessary. I'm thinking to myself, man, just call her. Hell, somebody got a number somewhere. Call a sister. I'm sure you got somebody's phone, a relative's phone number in your phone where you could talk to anybody that can get in touch with your wife. If it really means that much, you don't have to run to YouTube or to social media to fucking put out this sad ass message about you missing your wife. And maybe I just think differently. Again, I sympathize with them. You know, when you're going through it and you truly do love somebody, if that really is the case here, you know what I'm saying, and you want to get in touch with them, you'll do everything that you can. I just think that this was pretty much the first ditch effort, not the last ditch effort, if you feel where I'm coming from. This was the first thing you decided to do, as opposed to really talking to her behind the scenes and figuring out how they can make things work. You know what you did wrong. You're admitting to your faults. But the thing is, you're admitting to your faults to your audience, right? To be honest with you, I'm not sure how much of a fuck some people give about your problems and issues, right? I've learned that about social media. These people fickle, man. I didn't get a chance to read through the comments. Maybe people do sympathize with you, but for the most part, people give zero fucks about your problems when it comes between you and your wife, right? They may be like, damn, bro, that's sad. Anyway, right? They don't sit there and harp on that shit. They ain't gonna sit there and fucking rub your shoulders and shit. And, you know, because as a man, for the most part, they just don't give a fuck about how we feel in relationships. And sometimes crying is a sign of weakness. Again, it's also a sign of emotional vulnerability, wherein you're feeling like you can cry in front of your wife, but you're crying in front of your audience, adversely, indirectly in front of your wife, because you're praying and hoping that she sees this, or she's already saw it, she don't give a fuck, or y'all saw it and she's talking, or whatever it may be. But all I see is a lot of begging. And unfortunately, I just don't see that as a viable option for me. I'm not going to run to social media to beg for my wife back, right? If that's the case. If ever anything happened between me and the young lady, I know how to find her. I know how to get in touch with her. I know her close friends. Anybody, like, I mean, well, shit, we live together here in the States, so she ain't really got nowhere to run. But I'm just saying, though, like, I know if anything happened, I know where I could potentially find my wife if it was something for us to be able to work out. I don't have to run to YouTube or fucking Facebook or Tag or whatever the fuck or Instagram to cry to get the wife back. I think that shit is kind of soft, right? And we are in a society where men are told to be hard in the yard, you know, don't express emotion and shit. And, you know, maybe he's from a society that believes something different. That's why I'm not really harping on the fact that he cried. Because again, like I said, man, that emotional, sometimes you got to let it out. I just don't see the point in letting it out in front of the camera where people can see you and people can judge you and people can say, what the fuck is this guy's problem? You begging for your wife back. And the only reason I could ever see a man viably doing something like that is if it's hurting his pockets. I'm sorry. I live my life like a business. I live my life like a fucking organization. I know exactly what it is. When the wife's not on camera, nobody wants to watch your shit. Probably. I'm not saying that's true because you have a substantial subscriber count, and I think that's awesome. You even have a join page on your YouTube and shit. And I'm like I said, I'm not necessarily pocket watching. It's just I kind of feel like that's the energy I'm getting because I've seen it with a lot of dudes. If they lose the face of their channel, aka a wife or a significant other, one of two things are going to happen. They're going to beg like my man's right here, or they're going to rush to replace her, right? You see it in your favorite YouTuber's channel when, you know, they're doing daily videos with them and a girl in the video often or always, 99.9% of the time, it's usually their face in the thumbnail, their face in the video, and you're just in the background doing some voiceover shit. But if you lose that, if you lose the girls that make your channel or lose the girls that bring the eyes to your channel, well, then guess what? that hurts the pockets, man, because nobody give a fuck about your ugly ass. Nobody cares about me. Why do you think my channel hasn't grown? Why do you think my channel's still small? If I would have put some bitches in front of the camera, man, I think I would have had a far better channel. Far better channel based on views and shit, if that was the case, if that was the way I chose to move. But at the end of the day, I just got to speak my piece and keep it pushing, because that's just who I am as an individual. All right. But anyways, I do believe that, I feel for him, but ultimately I kind of feel like there's a hidden agenda behind it, because nobody really does that when they could talk to their people behind the scenes, right? Nobody really jumps to the fucking camera and says, look at me, I'm crying, look at how I feel, look at the emotion that I'm expressing right now. And maybe that's just me, but sometimes sympathy falls on deaf ears when it comes to certain people. And I pray he gets what he needs out of this situation, I do. But that's just my interpretation of the situation. Appreciate y'all locking in, man. Doc's not gonna hold you very long. Y'all take care, man. Y'all stay blessed. Doc is out. Peace.